Hello YouTube, welcome back to Assetto Corsa, and it's here, Dream Pack 3, so it's going to be a 4-part review because there is a lot to talk about here. And as you can see, we're out on Brands Hatch and I'm taking the Ford Escort RS1600 out there. Why I picked this car? I think I'm just a big Ford fan, so I thought, well, there's a Ford in this pack, let me take that out first. Although, I have to say, before I even start talking about anything else, this Dream Pack was actually kindly gifted to me. Now, I don't know if the person who gifted it wants me to say their name or not, so I'm just going to say thank you, and if you want people to know who you are, just pop a comment down in the comments box below and people will know. So, you know, thank you, it was really appreciated. Now, this is the 4th DLC pack from Kunos, but it is the 3rd paid one, hence Dream Pack 3. But it contains one track with 2 variants, and you can see what track it is, Brands Hatch. And it contains 8 cars, and I believe there's 9 variants to the cars. I'll have to really check this out, but the cars that we've got are the Lamborghini Gallardo Superleggera, the Lamborghini Huracan SuperTrofeo, the Fiat 500 Abarth Assetto Corsa, the Mercedes AMG GT3, the McLaren 650S GT3, the Lotus 25, the Lotus 72, so that's 2 very old Formula 1 cars, and of course this Ford Escort Mark 1 RS1600. Not a bad pack, although I have to admit, it seemed a bit all over the place, if you know what I mean. The first pack generally contained racing cars. The second pack generally contained... Actually, what did the second pack contain? It was mainly racing cars. This pack seems to be 2 of here, 1 of there, you know, a couple of things here, a couple of Formula 1 cars, a couple of race cars here and there. But I'm not complaining because I think it's actually pretty cool. I like the fact that we've got this bonus pack. Plus, I just really like this car and the track. Along with the bonus pack, we've also got the 1.4 changelog. So there have been a number of changes here, so I'm just going to rattle a few of them off, which are quite interesting. There's a new reflection rendering system, so you should see some pretty good reflections now. The HDR now matches real-life photographic references, so again you're going to get much better colours. It's just going to look better. There's a lot of graphical updates there. The AI ability to stick to intended racing lines has been improved, so hopefully we should get some better AI races now. Vastly improved multiplayer anti-lag, anti-warp system. Now this I think is really important, and I've already seen this in action, and it does work. It does work. Multiplayer is vastly improved. So who knows, maybe I'll put a couple of multiplayer videos on here. It might be quite interesting to put on this channel. Wet volume for reverb on high distance has been changed just to make it sound more realistic. Some of the dynamics for the interior sound of the Audi R8 have been changed. New exterior sounds for the M3 E30 GTM and Group A, so that'll be interesting to have a look at. New font rendering system for dashboards, fixed some gravel particle fade outs, improved the digital instruments of all cars, fixed some bug special events, tweaked a few things here that were compatible with Time Model 5 and 6. The FXAA, so that's a fast approximate anti-aliasing, is using Kunos' own shader. The fixed blur rim on the tyres, so you've got animated suspensions. They've fixed some of the blurs and all that kind of thing. A number of DRS things that they've added for example, the McLaren P1 to ignore DRS zones. So for things that have DRS zones, you can just pop them open at any time. Fixed a few camera things here and there, some wheels and some little bugs here and there that they've fixed, including the 312T tyre, which is on V6 now. All cars have had revised headlights, so that's a good thing. And there were a few cars that missed dashboard lights, so they've added them now. And a number of LOD issues, they've sorted that out. So pretty decent changelog. A lot of fixes I've noticed here. And before we go on, there's also rumours. Now we know that night racing is not going to be coming into this version of Assetto Corsa anyway, because of the engine and all of that kind of stuff. But there is rumours that Kunos are working, and there's an early alpha somewhere, I'm guessing inside Kunos, that they're working on rain. So we might be seeing rain coming to this, perhaps within the year. So 2016, we're going to get a lot of rain, which is going to be quite interesting. Anyway, that's that out of the way. Brands Hatch. Classic famous racing circuit, located south of England, quite famous for F1, Formula 3 as well. I think Ayrton Senna in the rain on this particular track broke all lap records for this track in the rain. It was absolutely incredible in his Formula 3 car, really put down his credentials as the great driver that he is. Or he was. This is a very important track in Britain, along with Donington, Silverstone, perhaps Alton Park, and this one here, Brands Hatch. Very, very popular tracks. Any racing driver or racing fan should know 3 tracks in Britain: Silverstone, Donington and Brands Hatch, and all 3 of them are actually great. Unfortunately, this is the one that I haven't been to, so I won't be able to tell you how close it is, but having driven the track now, I have to say, on top of it being laser scanned, the fidelity of the track is incredible. When I say the precision is inch perfect, I literally mean that, inch perfect. This track is probably correct to an inch. So take the literal meaning of that. It's absolutely incredible. Graphically, it looks fantastic. Just as all Kunos tracks do, it looks really, really good. The tree lines, the grass, the texturing is phenomenal on it. Grip-wise, it feels right. It doesn't feel too grippy, but at the same time, it doesn't feel like it's a brand new track. It feels old. It feels like the tarmac's been worn a bit. There are slippery patches across the track, which is quite interesting. So I was quite impressed with that. And then the modelling. The modelling is, well, it's amazing. We had a mod of Brands Hatch, and I thought that was a fairly good mod. I knew that it was inaccurate in some places. Now, when you look at this, you can tell what the inaccuracies were. And it's interesting because there happen to be quite a few inaccuracies, which are all sorted out in this now, which is really, really nice. The undulation on this track, you can just see it here, actually. It's clear. You can see the track going up and down. You can see the bumps on the track, and it takes a lot of learning to figure out those quick lines. And when I mean a lot of learning, I mean a lot, because you're going to see lap after lap here. I tried different lines, and you're talking about just half a meter over on one side, and you're sliding out, particularly in this car, but you're sliding out and half a meter the other way, and you're saving 0.4 of a second. It was that nice, and you can feel the bumps, like I said. You could just about see them here, and you can just about see the car bumping up and down on it as well. Another reason I picked this car to show off this track is because this car has a very soft suspension, or softer suspension than most of the cars, so you'll be able to see where it's actually catching these bumps, which is really, really nice. I'm thoroughly impressed with this GP version. I haven't tried the Indy version yet, but the Indy version is just really most of this, and then it just goes, we'll wait for a few seconds. Go around this corner, or go sideways around this corner. And then here, instead of sort of going right round to the left, we sort of go left and then chuck a right. And that's basically the Indy version. So there we go, just that, to the right there. And that's that version, so I don't see that being any different. I see it just being just as good. So I might not actually show that Indy track in any of the later episodes. Moving on from the track, we can go into the car. Now, Ford Escort. It's a very, very famous car. It's one of the first small cars that Ford made. With the other cars were getting quite big. I think there was the Ford Cortina and all of them. They were getting quite big, and then they had the Ford Capri, which was a sports car. This was supposed to be like a small family car. And they came out with this RS1600 version. I believe it was in 1970. And in 1970, the Ford Escort was picking up. It was winning races, and Ford was unbeatable at this point in time. And they came out with this R600, which had a 1.6 litre engine, Cosworth as well, or as some people know, you call them in Britain. I don't know whether you call them this in America, but they call the Cosworth engines the Cosies. So this was an Escort Cosie. It was the first one to have the RS badge, the RS1600. That RS badge that you see now on Ford Focus, on I think Ford Fiesta has it. There are a number of cars that have this RS badge, which just means, I think it stands for Rally Sport, but it's sort of the pinnacle of Ford Motorsport. To have this RS badge, it all started with this car, this one car. The Capri had it, I think the Orion even had an RS. Very famous RS is the Sierra Cosworth RS, another Cosie. which came about, I think it was about 15 years after this car, to be honest. But more about this car. Even though it does say 1600, it's actually a 1.8 litre 16 valve Cosworth BDA inline 4 engine. Now the reason it says 1600 is in 1970 it was a 1.6 litre engine, and in 1973 they upped it to a 1.8. Now I believe this variant here is a 1.8 litre, but I'm not too sure. It was built at the Ford factory in South Essex, and it weighs only 885 kilograms. So it's a very, very light car. And because it's a touring car here, you're not talking about the road car. You can see, obviously, modelling wise, you can see it's got this extra spoiler, and it's got an exhaust on the side, and all those kind of weird and funky things. But because it is a race car or a touring car, it's got over 260 brake horsepower, and that comes in at 8,500 RPM. That is incredible rev ranges there. And over 200 Newton meters of torque, which comes in around 7,250 RPM, somewhere around there. So it's just like all the other race cars we've seen, it's designed to be very, very high in the rev range as I go off into the gravel. I must admit that gravel really does slow you down. It's a dual overhead cam, twin carburetor. Fuel injection came about a decade later. If we're talking 1973, you didn't get fuel injection until the early 80s on this car. The RS1600 did get fuel injection eventually, but at this point in time we had twin carburetors, rear wheel drive, hence all the sliding, and a 5-speed manual gearbox. Now the normal car had a 4-speed manual gearbox or a 3-speed automatic. This had a 5-speed manual, which was just better. 5-speed manual, just better. And besides, with the amount of power this car had or has, it needs the 5-speed. I don't think a 4-gear car would really work. But what a car this is! This car is, I have to say, I thought the Alfa Romeo GTA was fun from Dream Pack 1. This car is just so much more fun. It oversteers like a mad machine, but it drives like a charm. It's, when you're driving the car, it's just so easy to control. Even the slides that you've got, once you get used to it, it's so easy to control the slide. To get the car sliding and then just correct it ever so slightly, you can get some pretty fast lap times with this car. And you will see that my last lap time, as I slide and crash, my only crash, you will see that by the time I get to lap 11, the lap 11 will be my fastest lap time. Now you can see there, it says my best lap time is 1:49.543. I'm going to say I shave over 2 seconds off that lap time, and that is just within these laps, and that's just by learning how to drive the car and getting used to, you know, where you can put this car on the track. The car felt classic. It looks classic. If you look at the interior, Kunos have gone to crazy lengths to make this car look as classic as it looks. I love the fact that it's got these the vents. What does annoy me about the vents is that both vents are not pointing the same way. That's really annoying. I don't know why, but in cars, when the vents are all pointing, especially off like that, it's just really annoying. Outside though, the car looks incredible, as we expect from Kunos standards. As I slide it round the corner again, just dip it into the gravel there. But it does look incredible, just like Kunos always do with their cars. The sounds are really nice. It does sound like a very old car. Before I knew whether this was a straight 4 engine, I could tell that, okay, yep, this is 4 cylinders. And it was revving really high, so it's kind of hard to tell at the high rev range sometimes what's what. But, you know, it sounds really good, especially right here. You can just hear that odd crackle coming from the exhaust from the external view. They've done a really good job with this, and I think that they need to continue, you know, making all the cars that they've got, updating them all to have sound quality that is this fantastic. It's a right-hand drive, so I felt comfortable in it. It's amazing how actually having the steering wheel on the correct side, at least for me, on the correct side, how much of a difference it actually makes in how I drive the car. I never realized before now that having a steering wheel on the left always made me slightly more prone to hitting the right hand side of the car on the edge of any, you know, a wall or taking it into the dirt or something like that. Having it back on the right hand side, I know how far I can go across, and I know where the left of the car is at the same time. So it worked better for me. I quite enjoyed it. But of course, it is going to take a little bit of getting used to perhaps for some people. Most of the cars seem to have it on the left. It would be nice if Kunos could have alternative variants where you'd have a left-hand drive and a right-hand drive of every car. I mean, it would be a simple case of just moving the interior, sort of mirroring the interior in many ways, and then just replacing some of the textures to get it correct, which I think most people would be happy with. So, you know, Kunos, maybe that would be nice to do, but again, it's not really necessary. One thing that did confuse me was, well, actually a couple of things that did confuse me inside was, one, that the speedometer reads in kilometers an hour. I always thought this would read in miles per hour, especially considering it's a right-hand drive and it's made in Essex. So I was considering maybe that might be a mistake on Kunos' part. I'm not too sure, but I'm not going to knock them for it. But one thing I am going to say is, next to the fuel light, I believe that orange light is the fuel light. Next to that, you've got water temperature and oil temperature. Now, the water temperature didn't seem to move, and the oil temperature seems to be at 0 the whole time. So maybe, I mean, it would have been, I know that oil and water I don't think simulated yet in Assetto Corsa, but it would have been nice to actually have that oil temperature slightly higher up than 0. I took a look at that and I was worried that I'd broke something on the car, but I hadn't. So yeah, just a couple of bugs here and there as I'm sliding around like crazy. Now, driving this car, physics-wise, like I said, the suspension felt a little bit soft, so every time you went over a bump, you will see this car bounce. But this is a car from the 1970s, so we are talking about soft suspension anyway. You're not looking at all of these fancy multi-link suspensions or anything like that. You're looking at suspension that runs at the back on primarily leaf spring. So, you know, it's going to be very, very bouncy. But it didn't take away any of the fun of the car. I think it made it more fun. It does make the car a lot more fun. It made the car feel very alive, and it also made the car remain faithful to the era it's from. Now, we've said this about, you know, the old cars, like the 1960s Formula cars compared to the 1980s Formula cars, the 1990s. There are huge differences in how those cars drive. And I never thought that you'd see those kind of huge differences represented so well in a road car like this. Anyway, the suspension really did give this car a whole new feeling. I think if this had stiffer suspension, it wouldn't be nearly as fun to drive. But with the suspension that it had, with the tyres that it had, with the dynamics that it had of oversteering, of constant oversteer, you can see I don't think I've corrected more before than I have in this one video. I think the amount of counter steering I was doing to get rid of oversteer was absolutely amazing, how much I had to do. But it was really, really fun. I could do it all day long. I really, really could do it all day long. Well worth driving. And now what I'm going to do is, I think I can't really rate this car because I think it's a top car. I'm going to give it 10 out of, actually I'm going to give it 9.5 out of 10, just because of a few bugs here and there, and I just think there's still more that they can do on this. And Brands Hatch, I have to give 10 out of 10. There's really not much I can say about that. And the 1.4 has done a whole bunch of great stuff. And this is my last lap, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to run you through this lap. So you can see I caught a bit of grass there. That actually lost me some time, which was not good. Not good at all. I think I lost about 3 seconds of time around. Sorry, not 3 seconds. 0.3 of a second around there. But as I come into this, I thought I have to make sure that I don't oversteer here. I did oversteer ever so slightly, but not as much as I thought I was going to oversteer, which is always good. So now that we're coming down, I can't remember the name. I've got to try and remember the name of some of these corners. I think this is Surtees. So we're coming around 30s, which I managed to actually do quite well. Now you can sort of floor it all the way. I sort of stick to the inside as we come down Pilgrim's Drop, underneath the bridge, let it go all the way out to the left hand side as far as I can. Got to 200 yard marker, I think it was 200 yards. Hawthorne Bend, take it to third gear, get to Westfield Bend, and here you have to brake, try and cut on the inside slightly. I missed it there, and as you can see I almost touched the gravel just because I missed that. Now we're going to come up to Dingledell. What a strange name. And we're coming up to this corner. Now, this is a blind corner, but if you can cut the inside there like I did, and then let it sweep out to the outside, you're fine as long as you bring it back in. And between the 2 and the 1 board there, you can brake, get it down Sterling's Bend, put your foot down, be careful, you can get a lot of oversteer down there. And we're coming up to Clearways, round the corner, again third gear, ease off the throttle, and then back on as soon as you feel the grip bite. Clark Curve, and then up the Brabham Straight, up to the pits, and that's going to bring me to the end of this lap and the end of this episode. So thank you very much for watching. Please remember to hit the like button if you like this video, subscribe to our channel for more videos on the Assetto Corsa, pick up Dream Pack 3 because I think it's absolutely fantastic, and over the next few weeks I'll be looking at the rest of the cars, and I hope to see you guys then. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next week.